Here we go.
Hey, my name's Crystal Pye. We're here today to discuss the setup and monitoring of an A-line, arterial line, for the recovery staff. About every 6 months we do a rotation of staff through here from day surgery PACU out to our pavilion. So this is a good refresher to understand how to monitor and how to make sure the setup is okay. So everybody that's here, which is unfortunately we'll have a bunch of people because it's the end of the day and we have to send a lot of people home. I'm going to hand out the evaluation sheets and a guide here on troubleshooting and equipment needed, and we will get evaluations done after if you don't mind. So, thank you all for joining. I appreciate it, taking your time out. So basically when we receive a patient from the OR, they're going to have the A-line already set up, of course, but you want to ensure that it is set up properly. But first, before we get to the setup, there's some key things that we need to understand about what to watch for, complications that can arise. One of the things that is simple but helpful is the hand block. This is where the hand sits on a radial arterial line. It needs to be secured and flexed. That way that line stays open to prevent any kind of occlusion. There are things that we need to watch for. One rule of thumb too is always have the line visible whenever you're standing at the bedside. Make sure it's not covered with linens, because you need to observe it because things can change quickly. It is an arterial line, so it's under a lot of pressure, obviously, and we've opened it up. So some things to watch for are the 5 Ps. We all know what the 5 Ps are: pain, pallor, which is the coloring or pulselessness, paresthesia, paralysis. If any of those complications arise, stop see what you can do to get an MD at the bedside to remove it immediately, because occlusions can cause major problems. So we want to reverse those situations as quickly as possible. Once you know you got your line set up and everything's looking good, there's no redness, there's no hematoma, there's no swelling, anything like that. Of course, you're going to come from the patient's hand. You're going to see some 2 points on here. Those are access points, as you can see, and we have a syringe that's located on a leveler device that you can adjust. This level device needs to be adjacent and flush to the patient's heart, essentially. So if they're in the bed and they're at an incline, you kind of just visualize best. Now there's another option, of course, to lay this in the bed and have it at an intercostal space, but typically we put it on a pole, or it comes out on a pole, and we adjust it as needed, because it's important for the leveling of the transducer to be level with the heart. That way we're not having an atmospheric pressure difference. We can go over that a little bit more in a second. Essentially, you want to have this in line. So we're assuming our patient's over here, and you want to have the flow going easily so it's easily traced to the monitor. So other than your leveler or your clip to be able to level properly, you absolutely need a pressure bag, a disposable pressure bag, and a 500cc bag of normal saline. That is what's approved for Willis-Knighton. Some other facilities may be different. You want to ensure that the bag is inflated, of course, that your lines are open, and you have to make sure too that your lines are flowing. There's directional indicators here on the valves, and you want to make sure that they're flowing. So one way you can do a check after you ensure your bag is inflated is simply just pull this little flush valve. You pull this out, and you should see some sort of blood flow dripping from your chamber here. That way you know there is fluids that is going to go to the patient. So once you know that that's operational, of course, our equipment that we have to set up is the actual monitoring cable for the transducer. So we're going to have 2 cables here, this dark gray and the light gray. And of course it goes right into the A-line on the side of the space lab. Once you insert this in, it'll pop up for monitoring purposes for an A-line. And you want to ensure it does say ART. I know this may be difficult to see. Once you get that set up, then you have to zero the line itself. Zeroing the line itself means basically that you're equalizing the atmospheric pressure to the patient's pressure of the line. So the way to do that, there's 2 things you got to do. You got to zero the monitor. That's the first thing that you do. when you get it set up. So you want to hit your art line, and there's a 0 button. It's very easy, self-explanatory in a sense. But you want to hit that line to zero it out, and what it's going to do is it's going to equalize the pressure that it's getting from the patient. But it's important though that this is at the level of the patient's heart. That can absolutely cause some issues where you won't see a correlation of the patient's blood pressure with the arterial pressure. That's an easy indicator. If you see an alteration or a difference in the blood pressure and the arterial pressure, that something needs to be done. You need to do a troubleshooting, and one way to do that is, of course, a T-wave test. And the way to do that, it actually creates a T-wave on the monitor. Whenever you want to do that, you flip this valve that's on the transducer up, and what it does is it blocks off the line to the patient. You pull your valve, and you'll see a square test. The procedural indicators on the handle that you have say you can pull it out for even a full second with the valve, and you can see it'll create a box wave, and that's a T-wave test. But again, as long as your pressures are similar to what you get on your regular blood pressures, you should be fine. There's also ways to filter the lines down from a 12 hertz to a 3 hertz, and it kind of cleans up the line. That's an option within your setup, and that is about it. Any questions?
Like, it was funny because I was
Okay, thank you.